Welcome to another episode of the Ignite Your Mind podcast, a safe place for real talk on discovering powerful stories, talking about mental health, real business journeys, and hearing inspiring stories. My name's Sanjay Patel, and I'm a transformational life coach. My goal in this podcast is to uplevel your creative thinking, to help you see the infinite potential you have, and to show you that anything is possible. And this week, I have a special guest who likes to go against the grain and goes by the name of Ian Macbeth from Avacodo Property. Ian tells us of his long-standing career in property spanning 16 years in one organisation and how all of a sudden was made redundant. And I quote, "You have to take your own life into your own hands. That's the only way you can be stable." Ian and I go deep into the property agency world and everything around the stigma of estate agents. This is a must listen for those who want to know why now is a crucial time to start your own business. I hope you enjoy. So welcome to another episode of the Ignite Your Mind podcast with myself, Sanjay Patel, and I've got a very special guest today, and I'm actually really excited to have him on board because I've known him for a very, very long time, Mr. Ian Macbeth. How are we doing, mate?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Be realistic. Like, we're filming this, recording this at 10:30 in the morning. We've both got lights on, so just goes to show what's going on with the English weather at the moment. But yeah, mate, I'm all good. I'm excited to have you on. I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
You actually hired me back in the estate agent days, and I really wanted to get you on because I know you've been on a mad sort of journey over the last year or so, especially. But it'd be good to hear your story and obviously what you've done over the last 15, 20 years of your working life. So I'll tell you what, let's just go take it back to like when you left college and stuff like that and you started the business journey or the work life. What were you doing? What was happening? Where are you?
Yeah, I left sixth form. I never wanted to go to university. I didn't really think that education was my place to go. So
Me too.
I kind of followed my dad's footsteps, like a lot of people tend to do at the beginning, and I went into the fitness instructing industry. He ran a gym and he's always been into his bodybuilding and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not a bodybuilder, as you can tell,
No.
but I was into my fitness. So yeah, I became a fitness instructor, and I did that for about 18 months. Enjoyed it. I think, at 18 years old, there's a bit of an ego thing about being a fitness instructor. It's cool, isn't it? It's one of those things. But yeah, I got qualified and I couldn't really earn the money that I wanted to. I was always quite ambitious to try and get to a certain place as quickly as I could. And I couldn't earn the money in it. And one of my friends was actually working for an estate agent in Wokingham where I was a fitness instructor. And he said, "Look, just come and have an interview." So I went for an interview, and the next thing I knew, a couple of weeks later, I was starting as an estate agent. And that was about 19 and a half, I think, when I started that. So since then, 17 years later, I've been in that industry. And I would say I fell in love with it. I definitely would say I fell in love with it. It's quite an addictive industry. You either love it or you don't.
100%. Yeah.
I think I enjoy talking to people. I've always been someone that's able to communicate and translate very efficiently. And I think that fell nicely in the industry. I'm very, very competitive. So I like the competitive aspect of things, especially at a younger age. I was really
I know
into
that.
these figures and this sales and the buzz of that. And it was good. It was new and it was exciting for me. And whereas at school, I always kind of coasted a little bit. So I could just get away with doing enough, and I could talk my way out of a problem quite easily. And I knew that if I put my mind to something, I could do it well. If I didn't enjoy it, I wasn't really that bothered.
Just do enough to get by, sort of thing.
Yeah, and that was me at school, which is why I knew education wasn't for me. But in agency, I loved it. So I could put everything into it. And that meant that I could win. And there's a nice feeling about that winning feeling. So just climbed the ladder, stayed at the same business for the best part of 16 years. Climbed the ladder. I think it was one of the youngest ever branch managers running the Bracknell office. And,
that's mammoth, like 16 years in one business. It's a rare thing, especially these days with not obviously what's going on at the moment with the pandemic, but like just in general, like a lot of people don't stay in businesses even for like a year or 2 years. So to be in the business for 16 years, there obviously must have been something that was keeping you there for all that time. Or did you at any point just as from an observation perspective, did you at any point think, maybe I should switch businesses, companies, or maybe I should change, or this isn't working for me? Did you ever feel like that, or you just like, no, I'm good, like I'm happy where I am?
There was a couple of points. There was a point. I'm very loyal. I'm a loyal person. I'm one of
Yeah,
those. I think my personality trait means that if I've got your back, I've got your back.
yeah,
But if you stitch me up or you put a knife in my back, there's probably no coming back from that. So it's very black or white on that scenario.
yeah,
So I gave kind of everything to the business, but there was a couple of points I did leave once for about 6 hours. Um,
What do you mean? What happened?
well, I got to a point where I felt the manager that was my manager at the time wasn't running the office correctly. I
Right,
felt that although I was inexperienced, I was I probably felt that I knew more. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I just felt that I knew that we were doing it wrong. I didn't
right,
necessarily know the answers, but I knew there was a problem and the problem wasn't being changed.
yeah,
Um, so I decided, well, I'm young and I'm winning a lot of awards and I've built a reputation. Why not go to a bigger outfit
yeah.
and
How old were you
maybe
when this happened?
how old? 21.
Okay, so you're only a couple of years into it, really.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
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 Okay.
So yeah, I left, and then I decided it just didn't feel right. The second I'd left, I sat at home with my mum, just didn't feel right, and then I'd
Yeah,
already decided I was going back the next day to kind of take things off. But that triggered some changes, which inevitably meant that I was then
yeah.
in the next couple of months running the office basically. So it wasn't
Got
my
it.
intention to do that, but that's just the way it fell.
Do you know what? That's just what happens when you put things out to the universe. It like comes back to you in weird ways, and I've realised that over the last couple of years. So yeah, it was really interesting. Did you like obviously from the estate agent world, and obviously I've been in it as well, so I kind of get it. Did you ever feel at any point when you used to introduce yourself to people, how would you introduce yourself? Because I had this a lot, and I know you put a video about this recently, and it's always was a big thing for me. Like I worked in a estate agent for 7 years, and I never ever used to tell people, like, oh yeah, what do you do? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an estate agent. I never used to say that because
Yeah.
obviously the stigma that estate agents have got, and etc. etc. What did you used to say, and did that change over time?
Yeah, I think it did. I think if I was talking to my own age bracket, so I'm in my early mid 20s. If I was talking to
Yeah,
my own age bracket, I would say I'm an estate agent. I work for blah blah blah, or I'm a manager of an estate agent. So I would say
yeah,
that, and I feel confident that in my own demographic, in my own age bracket, that was something that I was proud of. I think if I
yeah,
was talking to the older generation, if I was at weddings or family parties, or anyone that was 10, 15 years plus advanced me, I wouldn't come out and say I was an estate agent because
yeah,
where I say I love the industry, but I
yeah,
hate the way there's a reputation and a stigma around it. I hate what the
yeah,
public feel about it. Um, because yeah, I feel they're right. I feel that they're correct to
yeah,
have
yeah,
that opinion. But yeah, it is quite an embarrassing thing to introduce yourself as.
yeah. But did you? So what did you introduce yourself as?
So I would probably say 9 times out of 10, I would say, do you know X, the company that I worked at? I'm a
Okay,
manager there.
okay.
So I would try and avoid it. And then when I
It's
bought,
crazy, isn't it?
it is crazy, yeah. And at quite a young age, I managed to buy some investment properties, and I would either
Yeah,
refurb them. So then I would just say I'm in property, um,
yeah,
and that was you get out of jail.
That's exactly what I used to say. When people say, "Oh yeah, what do you do, Sanjay?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I work in the property industry, or I'm a property expert, or something along those lines." I've never used to say the two
Yeah,
words. But you know what? Now I look back at it, and obviously now I've been on this like mad personal development journey over the last few years, and I know you've been on a mad journey over the last few years. Like now I look back at it, I'm just like, why was I so ashamed to say I was an estate agent? It's because I was worried about what the other person thought about it. And it's really that's just a load of bullshit, really, if you think about it. So
yeah,
now I don't care what people say. Like, even now, like people ask me, what do you do? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a transformational life coach. And I used to think that, oh yeah, no, because that's also got a stigma around it because there's a lot of people, a lot of fake people trying to make money out of the industry. And and I was just like, well, who cares? And I was just like, so now what I generally say is that I do, like people ask me, what do you do? I do what I love. And they're like, what? What does that mean? And do you know why? Because I'm statistically saying that 86% of people hate their day jobs. They hate it. So now I say I do what I love, and I'm like, I help people transform their lives via conversation. But I remember, like, if I went back, if I went back 7 years and went back into the estate agency shoes, if someone asked me, I'd be like, well, yeah, I work in the property industry as an estate agent. I love selling people's houses for them and giving them the best value service they can get. This is their most valuable asset. That's probably what I would have said
Yeah,
now if I went back 5, 7 years ago. Do you
yeah,
agree, or like, are you just been like,
yeah,
maybe?
yeah. I think for me, the love of bringing someone into the industry,
Mm,
and typically people come into the industry at a young age, being able to shape and help give them a career and give them foundations in life that will impact them. I loved watching, it's kind of like watching plants grow, but I loved
yeah,
being in a position where I could watch people grow in life and in their career. So I loved the training and the coaching and having an impact in the staff's lifestyle effectively, and hitting trigger points for them. I loved that part of it. That's what kept me
yeah, man.
excited and in there. And I do think you have to get to quite a mature age, or you have to get to a point in your life where you've got a lot of self-confidence that you don't care what other people think. Especially in
100%.
this day and age, it's easy to care what other people think. Um, but yeah, I don't. I guess I still care a little bit what other people think, but I don't take it personally. I think that's
Yeah.
probably what's changed over the course of
That's
time.
important. That's really important. I'm glad you said that, because I realized that, because that's always going to happen throughout our whole lives. And it's an important thing for you to able to construct your mind to actually accept that that's going to happen, and it's going to
Mhm.
happen whether you like it or not. But if
Yeah.
you're unable to accept it, then that's a problem. But if you're able to accept those comments or those opinions and move on with it, then fine. And
I
I've
think
realized that over
if
time.
people don't know you, that and they know you're in a certain bracket, that you're in a certain
Yeah.
industry, then they will tie you with that brush. But I think the challenge and the excitement aspect of things, once you understand that it's not personal, your job is then to show them what version you are within that demographic. And
Yeah.
that's the part that I think we're doing so differently now with the new job, is to try and do that, to show, yeah, we're in that, we're proud of being in that, but we're very different to the norm. We're not in
Yeah.
the 80%, we're that 10% difference.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think, yeah, it takes a little bit of time to go through life, and different trigger points that make you sort of feel that way. Not everyone gets to it, I guess, but
No.
I think once you get to a point where you go, actually, you just got to you bend it, be completely different. Um,
Yeah.
and that's where the fun comes. That's when the excitement starts.
It really does. And I think that's the point where it's so scary. The initial thought of being different and being unique in whatever you're doing is such a scary thing, because you're thinking, well, no one else has done that. And
Mm.
you're like, well, if I do that, what if I fail? Like, you start overthinking stuff. And I'm a big believer of, just, if you're interested or you're passionate about something, just start. Don't worry about what's going to happen. Just start doing it, and it will start to have a snowball effect if you are passionate about it. And you'll soon realize, if you don't like something that you're doing, you're not going to like it. But if you do and you love it, that's when it can really take off, and you stop caring whatever other people's opinions are, and you start really doing what you want to do. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of what we do now. Like, it's funny that we've sort of reconnected, because I know we haven't spoke a huge amount over the last few years, but now you've obviously changed careers. You don't work in the same company for 17 years. Just on a tip, just going back, what would you say, because there's going to be a lot of people in your industry listening to this, I'm assuming, like, and being in a company for 17 years and working your way up the ladder, becoming director, etc. What's the best advice you would give to people that are looking to get into the industry at present?
I think if anyone's looking to get into the industry at present, where the market now is it's going to be a difficult market for the next 3 months, maybe the rest of the year.
Yeah.
If I could ever advise someone, are they thinking about doing it? If they're thinking, maybe I shouldn't do it now because it's not great, that is the polar opposite of what you should be thinking. The
100%.
best estate agents I've ever worked with got into the industry in the difficult markets. And I always say that. And if we went through, like, say 2011, 2012, fairly good markets, the guys that got recruited then, when it got tough again towards the next 4 or 5 years, they
Yeah.
struggled. But the guys that were in the market in '09 and '10, they didn't struggle, because they'd already dealt with the difficult part of it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would say, if you want to get into it and you're committed to it, do it now, because the lessons you'll learn now will fast track you in
Yeah.
6 months, 3 or 4 years. So do it. Get in there
Yeah.
and go to a high street agent, and get the right training and work with good people, and build a career, build a foundation. The one difference that I would say now outside of the employed role is don't get don't get suppressed by the employed lifestyle. Build your own personal brand, and
Mm.
be very active on social media and talking to the public. And
Now more than ever.
definitely, I
Yeah,
think it's a
yeah,
big thing that probably when you're in that employed bubble, if you like,
yeah,
you're almost whitewashed into thinking a certain way in employed life, not just a state agency, probably most industries. And I think what you've got to do is, even if you're employed, think like you're someone who's going to eventually run their own business. And that's how you have to portray yourself to the public, because it will
mm,
give you an extra footstep. So yeah, that would be the advice. I would say get in it now, learn the difficult challenges, build your personal brand, embrace it, and try and learn what people are doing that works for you. Don't be a robot.
yeah,
Don't get overtrained. Don't lose your own personality, your own identity. Embrace that more than anything. Just look at what people do well and what people don't do well, and take it into your armory. That's the
yeah.
advice I would give anyone new.
And I think that's like a super powerful thing to say for any new business owner as well. Like, there's so many things you can do these days, but the most important thing I found out is just to be you. Have your own unique selling point, which is you. And if you have that and you portray that forward, then that's what will resonate with people. Like,
Mm,
there's so many people out there being fake people trying to do what other people are doing, which I get. Like, you can get ideas. I've got so many ideas of Tony Robbins, the best life coach in the world, but I'm
yeah.
not going to be him because that just wouldn't work. And it comes across like that. And I think that's super important for any new business owner or someone looking to start their own business as well. What do you hate about working for someone else the most?
Well, I'm not someone that holds back. I'll speak my mind.
Go,
Um,
go.
and yeah, I
This is
think
a safe place, Ian. This is a safe place.
I just think for me personally, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. It's taken me a
Yeah,
little bit of time to learn that. I know that once I believe in something, it's going to take something major for someone to change my mind on that if it's not been given a go. So one of the
yeah,
biggest frustrations I ever had is in my head, I knew this would be the right decision, the right technique, the right place to go, whatever it may be. If I felt it was truly, I was passionate about how right I felt it was. Being told, no, you can't do that by the people that own the business is hard. That's the hardest part of it, because you're the one
you're
on the tools
restricted.
as such. You're the
Yeah,
one doing the job. They're in the ivory tower, and they don't know what's going on the footprint.
yeah,
um, so you're paid a lot of money to make those decisions, and when you're not allowed to make those decisions with your own knowledge and expertise in the field and in the present,
start
that's the biggest
questioning, don't you?
frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, 100% agree. That's so true. It's almost like you've been given the bone, but you can't have it, sort of thing.
yeah.
Like dangling the carrot. And
I
that,
think
yeah, that,
the estate agency industry, and once you get to a certain level in probably any type of industry,
yeah,
there's different types of people. There's people that are leaders, and there's people that are managers. And leaders will give you the responsibility. They'll give you the rope to go there and flourish, and they'll give you the confidence, and they'll give you the ability to make those decisions. And then there's managers, and they're more control freaks, if you like. They're people that have to feel it was in their backyard, it was their decision.
yeah,
And unfortunately for me, I felt that I was pigeonholed into not being able to flourish in the right direction. So,
yeah, yeah.
probably the back end of my career, I felt like I had more to give than what I was giving. I felt that I had more in the tank and I could offer something more. But
Mhm.
I did that through physical challenges. I didn't look at it straight away as my job, because it's all I'd ever known. I was looking at running marathons and doing back-to-back tough mudders and doing things that made me challenge me physically and mentally. But I never really looked until probably I had my daughter into my career as the place that was that little something that was missing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know where I went off on a tangent there, but that
No,
was
that's
that was
right.
kind of the back end of it.
When you just mentioned your daughter, I remember seeing your Instagram the other day or your Facebook. She was trying to shave your hair. That's quite comical.
Yeah, it's growing
I had
back
a giggle
now.
to myself. Yeah, it's
It's
starting to
growing
grow
back
back.
now.
Lockdown life, eh? Okay, cool. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you explaining that part, and I hope that whoever's listening to this, that if that resonates with you, then I hope you've seen value out of that, because this is the stuff that people don't really talk about. Everyone talks about the level, the surface level stuff, but no one really digs deeper and understands what it's actually like to work in the business for so long, and then create your own thing, which I want to go on to now. Is that so? 17 years. What happened on your transition, and where are you now? If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see Ian's wearing a bright pink hoodie saying Avacodo Property on it. It's quite leery, mate. It's quite leery, but
Yeah, it
I
is.
like it. So tell us what happened, like the transition.
I would put this back to, so this probably started when I had a moment where I said to Ray, I said, something's missing. We just got married. We had our daughter. I think Grace must have been about 2. So this is probably about 2.5 years ago, something like that. And I just said to her, I feel like there's a little bit something missing. I've got to do something. I just
It's the
feel
worst feeling, isn't it? When
yeah,
you know there's a hole, but you can't fill it.
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And at the time, I would often drive back from directors' meetings and things like that. And I just feel frustrated all the time.
Yeah.
But I didn't really pinpoint it on career. I thought it was just life, because for me, that's all I'd known. When you've been in the same place for so long, it's a habit that's embedded in part of your body.
Yeah.
But I decided to take up these 2 marathons. And the reason why I mentioned that is because it's funny you mentioned Tony Robbins, but while I was training for the marathons, it's when I got into podcasts, and it's where I got into self-learning, I guess, rather than listening to music. If you're running for 2 hours, you can only listen to so many songs, then you get bored. So I started listening to podcasts, and I started listening to ebooks and inspirational people, Goggins and Tony Robbins and Eric Thomas and Les Brown, and just people that got you pumped when you're out there. But then I sort of moved transitionally into people that were teaching me stuff. And I think probably the void for me was that I hadn't really learned anything for 5 or 6 years off of anyone other than myself. I was my own mentor. I didn't have someone that was teaching me new skills, above or below me, really. So at that point, when I was training for the marathon, is when I started to realize that actually maybe I could do my own thing. But I never really thought I would leave where I was. I always felt it would be a side hustle. It would be it'd be something different I'd do on the side, whether I started a business in partnership with someone, or whether I went into a bit of property development, or whether I just helped people. So I started looking more at that aspect of things.
So you started thinking about having a side hustle, but still working your normal job, being employed. So you were starting to think, what other avenues have I got? Okay,
I was starting to think I needed something else. But what I guess the biggest error I made at the time I was where I was you get to a point where you earn. It's not about what you earn; it's about how much debt you've got. When you get mortgage, car, bills, when you get X amount that you've got to cover at the end of the month, part of it is because you want a nice house, or part of it is because you're keeping up with the Joneses with cars and things like that. You get to a certain point where you've got X debt, and that means you're trapped. You feel you're trapped, because I can't change industries and go back, because I need to pay those bills. I've got a wife and a child and a mortgage, etc. So I started looking at other ways, and it got me just thinking of how different I wanted the business to be. So I guess I started trying to change the business, and I was managing director, so I had a certain amount of sway in the business. So I started trying to change the business in certain ways, and I did a certain thing for the staff where we changed pretty much the identity of the company on how it worked with, Christmas and hours and things like that. And that felt good. It was a nice feeling. It was a good change. And then I started to look into the marketing aspect of things. And that's probably where it changed.
You love it, don't you? We've had conversations about the marketing side of it. I've known, you can tell you've got a spark about it. Like there's something about marketing which you really, really love. And I remember when I used to work there for my final year, that was what you were sort of really pushing, was the marketing aspect side of it.
Yeah, I think for me, if I was to look at the industry, and again, I'm tarring it now with a brush in general, it's quite an impatient industry. It's a lot of sales guys, a lot of testosterone, a lot of, charismatic characters. Whether they're truly confident or whether it's a front, there's a 50-50 split there, maybe a 70-30 split.
Mine was a front for many years, mate. I fronted loads of stuff, buy cars and watches and all this kind of rubbish. But carry on.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think, estate agents are very much people that there's something behind that charismatic, smiley person, almost fake positivity. But people can read that now anyway. But for me, it was about, I am analytical and I love problem solving and I love challenges. And marketing for me, when I got into it more more than just being a branch manager writing a couple of letters to send out. But when I actually looked at the mainframe, if you like, of the business and the marketing, all the numbers and the figures and the data and the human behaviors and the human interests and what generates X, that I got quite obsessed with. I got really into it.
Yeah.
And then quickly I got made redundant. And, I had that meeting. I got called in on a Friday with the CEO of the business and the other managing director, and HR was sat behind me. Got made redundant, or got told I was going to be made redundant if I didn't do X, Y, and Z.
Okay, let's just pause on that for a second. Now, one thing which I really am driving into, people think they are secure in their jobs, but what they don't realize is that you're probably a whole lot less secure in your employed job rather than running your own business, running your own side hustle, whatever it might be. Now, Ian, how long have you been there? 17 years, right?
16 years, yeah.
16 years, sorry. And then all of a sudden, so you're safe. You worked your way up, you entry leveled up, went to MD, like all of a sudden, 16 years later, you got pulled into a room, got made redundant.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone that's listening to this that thinks, I need a stable income, I need to be employed, that's the safest way I can live my life, I guarantee you now, and this is going to be a kind of a bold statement, but only because I've been through this, and you've obviously been through this as well, you are not safe in your employed job. Look what's happened with the pandemic. Like, this stuff you can't predict. But however, what's happening now is that I run my own business. Ian's running his own business. We are making our own money and in complete control of our finance, our business, and the people around us. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is a real big thing, and it's something which always comes up in conversations with my coaching clients. They think they're safe by being employed, having a stable income. Yeah. Are you more stable with someone else controlling your income, or you controlling your income?
Well, you have to take your own life into your own hands. That's the only way you can be stable. And every moment you're employed, your income, your life, your debt, your cover, whatever you want to look at it, you're in someone else's hands.
Yeah.
And I would draw it in this diagram. If you think of a triangle, normal way up, then you think of a triangle upside down. As you climb up that triangle, as you climb up that ladder, you become more senior, you earn more money, you get more responsibility. Look at the other side, and that's your risk factor, because you're becoming more expensive and there's less of you, so you're easier to remove. And if you look at the point here, when you get to the top or second layer down or third layer down, and you look at your risk factor to the right in an upside down triangle, it's as high as it can be. And that's what people don't realize. I mean, I was naive to the fact that I'd won all the awards. My officers were all the best officers. My staff were all the award winners. For a long time, I was probably the golden boy of that business. And you think you're secure in that basis, but in reality, you're not. You're probably the most at risk when you get to that sort of level. And it's one of those things which I think, if you never think it's going to happen to you, do you?
No, of course you don't.
That's the key thing. Your ego and your fight or flight tells you, don't worry about that. You don't need to get into that channel of mindset, because you're all right. It covers it up for you. But it can happen to anyone.
Look what's happened at the moment with the whole pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, millions of people losing their jobs all of a sudden. That business owner was like, well, I can't afford to have you on. Are you so stable now? But then, I'm not saying this is for everyone. Like, I know some people do like to be employed and have a stable income. Or is it a stable income? But for people that are looking to do their own thing and have a controlled income, because you control it, whatever work you put in, that's what you're getting out, then absolutely, like Ian's a prime example, 16 years in the business, made redundant all of a sudden. Now what are you doing? What's the business now? The colourful fruit, vegetable. What's avocado? Fruit or a vegetable?
It's actually a fruit.
Fruit. My bad. Okay.
It's actually, most people think it's a vegetable. It's actually a fruit.
I love avocados though.
So the avocado thing it was basically, if I could describe what I would have wanted to do with the business I was at MD level, this is what I would have wanted to do. But never being able to do that because it's not your business meant you couldn't. So in reality, the business planning for this business was, what does a classic estate agent do? What does a high street estate agent do?
Yeah.
let's do the opposite of every single one of those things.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the basis of the business. They wear suits and pocket squares. You can spot them in the high street when they're walking around. They've just grabbed their Greg sandwich. You know that's an estate agent. Be the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Be the opposite.
We know full well.
You know.
Any estate agent listening to this knows.
Yeah, they know. They've seen the three of them walking down there at lunchtime. Oh, there's the estate agents. Which one are they going into? Green, blue, or pink?
Yeah.
So be the opposite of that. And I wrote a blog recently, but this is where estate agents have always got it so wrong. Estate agents think they sell and let properties, which they don't. We mentioned Greggs just then. Greggs sell sausage rolls. They're their sausage rolls. They make them. It's their recipe. They own them. They sell them. Estate agents, the ego in them and the overconfidence makes them think that they own the property. What do I do for a living? I sell and let properties. No, you don't. They're not yours. You are a marketing and property transaction consultant. That is effectively, no one will ever call themselves that, but that is what you do. You are doing a service for a client that owns a property to help market their property and give them the advice and the knowledge they need to get that transaction through. That's the job of an estate agent. So that's what we built the business principles around, is doing that part better than anyone else. That's the goal.
I love that, because you put like recently you're banging out videos for fun, but I know it's marketing, but the way you're going around it and the way you're explaining stuff, it resonates with the general public so much more. And you're not trying to impress any other estate agent. It's not about them. It's not the people that sell your property for you. It's about the people, the homeowners. And that's what I really like about your video content. Obviously, you know, I'm big on making videos and making them look all cool and fun. But I think just doing that, I think resonates with the general public so much more. And it's just so much more down to earth. And, you know, it's the value factor, the information factor of like, just cut through the shit and just say it how it is, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
And that's for me why I don't feel it is marketing, but I don't feel like I'm not going into a marketing meeting with me and my business partners and going, let's create a leaflet that's going to get us loads of business. What I'm doing is I'm writing a blog of how I feel. And then I'm either turning that into a video of how I feel, or I'm putting the blog out. So for me, I'm not kidding anyone. This is how I feel. And I'm completely happy with the fact that some people will read that and go, I fucking love that. And some people will read it and go, I fucking hate that. And I'm absolutely okay with that, because I'm not trying to be vanilla. I'm not trying to capture the whole marketplace. I'm not going, right, let's
do what everyone else is doing. That's what you're not trying to do that.
No. I know the demographic of people that are going to embrace and emotionally connect with the business, and they're the people I'm writing to. The ones that don't, or, you know, we've had a couple of social trolls, if you like, that have jumped on various.
You know what? That's good.
Like it.
That's such a good thing. I keep saying on my YouTube channel, I'm always looking for that thumbs down, because I know, first of all, it's an organic reach. That's someone who's found my video, not liked it for whatever reason. I don't care, but the fact I've got one means it's working. Whatever I'm doing is working. So no, that's good. I like that. People will be like, oh no, I hate it, but it's actually a good thing. As a business owner, you're like,
yeah. And I think before, you know, if I went back 10 years ago, I would have taken it personally. I'd have had a keyboard row. But now I just say, thanks for your comment. You know, I appreciate how you feel and wish you the best of luck with any estate agent you choose in the future.
Thank you for your time. Yeah,
cool. Thanks. You don't need to give me any more information than the fact that I know I'm not going to get your business, and I'm completely okay with that, because I'm focusing on the people that feel the same way that I feel. And that's 100%. Pretty much where the business sits. It's about, there's two parts to it, really. It's two businesses in one. Point one is to disrupt the industry, turn it upside down, and create a business that we're proud of working in, so that we don't have that moment, like you said at the beginning, to introduce yourself as an estate agent and feel embarrassed, to be in a position where you can say, I'm the managing partner of Avacodo Property, and feel really proud about that. So that's point one with the public. Point two.
You've been listening to Rob Moore's podcast, haven't you? Disruptive.
I have recently,
It's so good, isn't he? Yeah. Big shout out to you, Rob Moore. I went and saw him at a live speaking gig. It was pretty amazing.
I find he's quite flashy. He is a bit like an estate agent, but he's got a different way of thinking. He just talks a bit salesy, so people could be a bit like, whoa, but I get where he's coming from, definitely. So that's part one, is to give the public that different option. Part two is all those people that we spoke about on those two different diagrams of pyramids, triangles. because typically where I think fear kicks in and where the debt kicks in and where people can't transition from employed to self-employed or their own business, the people that are going to be really good at it are normally at the top of the businesses, and they're the people that are probably trapped.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do is give those people an option. And this also means that you can come and run your own limited business and just utilize the brand. It's your business, it's your diary, it's your life. But you
Yeah.
use the brand. As the brand gets stronger, you get stronger. As you get stronger, the brand gets stronger. So it's a network as such. But what you're able to do is live the life that you want to live in your way with your culture. Yeah, there's a few guidelines, and maybe some people want to do completely their own thing. But the people that can't quite do that, or they can't spend 50, 60 grand starting their own estate agent, this is an option for them to come in. Probably the AMs and the managers to be able to flow straight into another option of being self-employed effectively.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mate, what does the future hold for Ian Macbeth and Avacodo Property?
Well, I think going back on the redundancy thing, I think when I had that moment, it's quite strange because it happened on Friday. And by Monday, I knew what I was going to do.
Yeah. So you already knew. Really.
It was there. It was the kick in the right direction. And I think for people listening to this that haven't been made redundant, that do feel secure, I wouldn't say go out tomorrow and leave your business. But what I would do is go out tomorrow and start thinking about what another option is for you, and start looking into it, and start looking into, if I started my own business, what would I do? And spend a bit of time learning, training in different areas. I had to teach myself all sorts of new skills.
Yeah.
So spend that little bit of time so that when you do it, you feel ready. But for me, going back on the redundancy thing, I think, it was a moment in my life which, I'll be forever thankful for, because if that hadn't have happened then, I probably wouldn't have been doing this now. And I knew what I was going to do by Monday. I got frustrated, I got angry about the situation, but deep down, I always knew what I was going to do. And off the back of that, you can then really get creative in what you want to do.
Well,
and
I remember I went and met you in that Starbucks and you were fuming. You were like so angry.
Yeah.
And then literally a week later, I spoke to you. You were just like, yeah, no, it is what it is. Like, just got to have to ride through it. And just, I've got my own ideas anyway. So it's like, it does take that time to adjust. And I completely get that.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that I got angry about, which I won't go into, but that's about people, not about the business. I hope the business does all the great things that, I had planned for it to do. And I hope the staff there do the great things that I had planned for them. But the individuals, as I said to you right at the beginning, I'm very loyal. So if I've got your back, I've got your back. But if you go and put a knife in mine, then it's a different scenario. So, you just have to take things as a pinch of salt and learn off them, really. So, I would say if people are looking to start a business, there's two things that I would always say. Be passionate about it. You don't have to be passionate about the industry. Be passionate about your purpose, your business cause. That's really, really important. And never forget the importance of momentum, because momentum can go one of two different directions. And once you get on that flow, as it's called in the world, flow, once you get on that right flow, then, there's a massive win that you can get from it. And you can do that momentum while you're sat employed, just looking and seeing whether it's right for me. Won't be right 100%. For everyone, but look into it.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think if anyone's feeling like they want to do their own thing, but they have no idea what to do or where to start, ask yourself, what do you get excited about on a day-to-day basis? Do that. Like this is a prime example. Like I got excited by getting energy, like amazing positive energy from other people. And then I just started searching for that. I was like, how do I make this happen? How do I make this into a career? How do I earn money out of this? Then all of a sudden, 2 years later, I'm running a coaching business, and it's making it such a big impact. And I think, just look at what you're excited about. Again, passion's a massive thing. And just ask yourself, are you living a meaningful life on purpose? And if you're not, then how do you do that? Start searching. Go onto Google. There's an abundance of information out there. Don't get wrapped up too much in it, because I've been wrapped up and I call it an information jungle. But there is so much out there for you to find out what your purpose is and how to live a meaningful life. And I know that sounds quite woo-woo and quite deep, but it's true. Like you find out, especially when you start running your own business, you start realizing this stuff actually just makes sense, right?
Yeah. We're sitting here in lockdown on Zoom, and what comes after lockdown will change the world, and then what's happening now is changing the world. Then you've got 5G. So from a tech point of view, completely different. It's probably been in our generation, other than when the internet came out and then the iPhone came out, 5G and lockdown and all of those combined is probably a catapult in how the industries will be and how people will live their lives, as much as both of those combined potentially, maybe not the internet, but definitely the phone. And now's probably the best time that you can start planning something else, because you don't
100%.
need to just knee jerk, but plan it. And I think purpose is massive for me. I think if you've got a business that's what this is about. You know, I couldn't feel more passionate about it. So
that's so you, isn't it? So you.
That's what's,
just completely against the grain, isn't it?
I said I'm competitive, so you know I'll fight the corner with it. But you've got to do that, because that's what's going to get you through. And we, you know, even going back to when we launched 3 days before lockdown, we had a decision to make. We knew lockdown was coming. Do we launch? But actually, were we ready? Probably not. We're probably 90% ready. But were we ever going to get to 100%? Probably not. Can't get to perfect. So we just went with it, and then we'll get perfect later. And that's a Rob Moore thing. You know, start now, get perfect later. And I love that. I think that's a great statement for anyone that's thinking
100%.
about it. Because that's part of the fun, challenging yourself and taking on things that you feel uncomfortable about is massively important in life.
Although I don't really like things that are perfect. I think if you get perfect, then there's nowhere else to go. And I quite like the journey. I've learned to embrace journeys as opposed to waiting for it to get absolutely perfect. I know it's just a saying, but like, you know, I don't ever want anything to be perfect. I don't believe in perfection, because I love the fact that you can still grow and there is still more growth to happen on whatever journey you're on. And I think that's the fun part for me.
Definitely. Yeah.
I don't know.
I completely agree.
Okay, cool. All right. I just want to finish off, Mr. Macbeth. So a couple of questions. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I think for me, I go back to that running when I was listening to Goggins. He didn't give it directly to me, but he said, your mind and your body will quit. Try and make you quit at 40%, and you've still got another 60% in the tank.
Boom.
And that sticks to me in everything, physically, mentally, any situation. You've always got more when your body's trying to. Sorry?
Is it true? Do you feel it's true?
I guess the percentage could be different for different people, but for me, definitely, I feel that when you get to that point of, oh God, I'm really struggling here, you've still got so much more. And that's the growth part. It's almost getting to, a lot of people say in the fitness industry, rep until it starts hurting and then count your reps. Just forget the bit where it didn't start hurting, because it's irrelevant, rather than going and just doing 10 reps. And I think that for me, mentally, is something that's important. Do it up to the point where it's a challenge, and then start, you know, the time watch. That's the important part. So that's a big thing for me.
That's what Les Brown says in one of his audios. He says Muhammad Ali said he doesn't count how many sit-ups he does. He only starts counting when it starts hurting.
Love that. There you go. Don't get better than Ali.
Literally, exactly. One of the greatest. Okay, fine. And what do you think the most, this is a big sort of generalized question, but what do you think the biggest reason is for people failing at starting up their own business or doing what they want to do? What do you think the number one reason is for that?
I don't think there's a number one reason. I think different people have different things that are the reasons why they fail. But I think if there was a majority, it's got to be the passion combined with the planning. You know, I think if they're really passionate about it, they'll make a way of doing it. But I think a lot of people go into things unplanned and unprepared. So, you know, it's those 3 Ps in reality. I would put them all in a bracket, and different people in different areas. But I think if you're passionate about something and you're doing the right thing for you, then you'll make a way of making it work.
Yeah. Amazing. Mr. Macbeth, thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
It's been a wonderful podcast. I hope, sorry, if anyone is listening to this, I hope this is giving you some value about the estate agency life, and even just a business journey, and to prove to you that, you know, even though stumbling blocks come when you are made redundant and you're not, you know, you think you've got stable income, there is always an option out. There is always stuff that you can do, right? There is always options if you are willing to pursue them. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, there is a full video stream up on my YouTube channel as well. If you wanted to watch it there, you can see Ian's lovely pink hoodie and his branding in his home office. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, no, I really appreciate it. We'll see you all next week. Any final words, Ian?
No, I think just for me, just remember that you change throughout your life. So I'm not saying I was always this person, because 10 years ago I wasn't. My mindset.
Yeah, I hated you about 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I would.
Sorry, I've been joking.
Well. But you go through being an arsehole, finding different parts. So just remember you change. So this might not sit there, and you might think absolutely not now, but 2 years later, it might be a different scenario. And the trigger point for me was having my daughter. So I think it's important to remember. Don't write it off now, because you don't know what's around the corner.
Do you know what you've just said? You just reminded me of something. Trigger point. Everyone has a trigger point. You just said as you had your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Mine was when I was turning 30. And I spoke to someone else who said they were turning 30. There's always a trigger point. Yeah, that's it. There's always a trigger point. So if you find you have that trigger point and your mind starts expanding and starts getting creative, roll with it. Just roll with it. See what happens. You've got nothing to lose. And I think that's a really, really valid point. Trigger points. Mate, we could talk for hours on this, but I'm going to cut it there. But yeah, I appreciate you listening. Every Friday, 12 p.m. There'll be a new podcast coming out. Thank you, Ian. Air fist pump. That's all we could do, right?
Yeah, love that.
Nice one. All right, take care, guys. See you later.
Cheers, bye.